Humanity had been invited to the Citadel as observers, not equals. At least, that's how it felt when we arrived. The Citadel itself was a colossal construct of living crystal and ancient alloy, suspended in orbit around a dying blue star. It shimmered with colors no human language could properly name, tones that seemed to hum directly inside the skull. This was the seat of galactic diplomacy, where wars were ended, species were recognized, and civilizations were erased with polite consensus. At the center of it all stood Queen Zaelthra. She ruled the Varelian Concord, an empire so old that Earth had still been molten rock when her ancestors first bent space-time to their will. To the rest of the galaxy, she was not merely a monarch, she was a constant, an unchanging pillar of authority. And to us humans, she was terrifying. The queen stood nearly 8 feet tall, her form elegant and alien. Translucent skin refracted light like water over glass, revealing faint bioluminescent veins that pulsed in slow, regal rhythms. Her eyes, 3 of them, were dark voids surrounded by rings of gold light, capable of locking onto multiple beings at once. There were rules when in her presence. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not make sudden movements. Do not initiate physical contact under any circumstance. That last rule had been repeated 6 times during briefing. I was only there because I was a xenolinguistic analyst, someone who studied the emotional subtext of alien communication. My job was to watch, listen, and report. Nothing more. I never imagined I'd become the center of the room. Middle, the touch. The formal procession began with ritual precision. Delegates from dozens of species stepped forward, bowed or bent or unfolded themselves according to ancient custom, and presented symbolic offerings. When it was humanity's turn, Ambassador Hale stepped forward, delivering his carefully rehearsed speech about cooperation, peace, and mutual benefit. I stood behind him, silent, invisible, or, at least, I was supposed to be. The Citadel floor beneath us was alive, microstructures shifting subtly with each step, responding to weight and bioelectric fields. I felt it change under my boots, but before I could adjust, the surface rippled unexpectedly. I stumbled. It wasn't dramatic, just a half step forward, a reflexive motion to catch myself. My hand brushed against something warm, smooth, alive. For half a second, my fingers made direct contact with Queen Zaelthra's exposed arm. The entire chamber froze. The ambient hum of the Citadel dropped into silence, so deep it felt like vacuum. Every delegate, every guard, every floating envoy drone locked into stillness. The Queen's eyes widened. Her bioluminescent veins flared brilliant white. Varelian guards raised their weapons instantly, energy blades crackling with lethal readiness. Human security reacted too slowly because none of us knew what to do when an extinction-level mistake had just been made. I pulled my hand back, heart pounding so hard it hurt. I'm sorry, I whispered, knowing full well she didn't need the translation. Queen Zaelthra did not strike me down. She did not order my execution. Instead, she stared at her arm and then at me. And then something impossible happened. She laughed. Not softly. Not politely. She laughed openly, a resonant sound that echoed through the Citadel like distant thunder. Shock rippled through the assembly. The Varelians did not laugh. Not in public. Not ever. The revelation. Human, the Queen said, her voice layered with harmonic overtones that bypassed the ears and resonated directly in the mind. Do you know what you have done? My mouth went dry. I broke a rule. Her laughter subsided, replaced by an expression I struggled to interpret. Wonder, perhaps. For my species, she continued, physical contact transmits truth. The chamber erupted in murmurs. She raised one elegant hand, silencing them. For millennia, no being has touched me without intention, without fear, without calculation. She stepped closer. When you stumbled, your mind was unguarded. Your emotions were unfiltered. My knees felt weak. And what did you feel? She asked. I swallowed. Awe, fear, and concern. I didn't want to offend you. The Queen's glow softened. Exactly. She turned to the assembly. This human felt no hunger for power, no desire to manipulate, no ambition to exploit. Her eyes burned brighter. In a galaxy ruled by strategy, deception, and ritual lies, this accident revealed something rare. She faced me again. Honesty. Rising tensions. Not everyone was pleased. Several delegates objected immediately. An insectoid coalition leader accused the Queen of bias. A crystalline envoy warned of setting a dangerous precedent. Even some Varelians shifted uneasily. Royal doctrine did not account for human clumsiness reshaping destiny. Yet Queen Zaelthra stood firm. She ordered a recess, another unheard-of decision, and summoned me privately. Inside her inner sanctum, surrounded by living walls that pulsed like a heart, she explained the truth. The concord was fracturing. Ancient species had grown stagnant, bound by tradition and fear of vulnerability. Humanity, young and chaotic, was different. You are fragile, she said, yet you endure. You stumble, yet you rise. You form bonds not through dominance, but shared weakness. She studied me carefully. You touched me without trying to change me. Her gaze hardened. That is why the galaxy reacted. They fear what you represent. The crisis. The backlash came swiftly. A rival alliance attempted to nullify humanity's observer status. Political pressure mounted. There were even whispers of a covert strike, eliminating the human variable before it destabilized the balance. Queen Zaelthra intervened publicly. She invoked an ancient right, dormant for eons. The right of chosen voice. She named humanity, not as servants, not as subjects, but as catalysts. A species granted protected status and direct influence in concord decisions. The chamber erupted into chaos. War nearly followed. But something else happened too. Other species began reassessing their assumptions. Quietly at first, then openly. They watched humans, our arguments, our compassion, our reckless hope, and saw reflections of what they had lost, ending a new balance. Years later, I stood once again in the Citadel. This time, not behind anyone. I stood beside Queen Zaelthra as an official human liaison. The Citadel had changed. Its colors were warmer, its rituals less rigid. New voices echoed through its halls, young species, old empires adapting. The Queen turned to me. Do you regret the accident? She asked. I smiled faintly. Every day, and never. She inclined her head, a gesture once reserved only for equals. The galaxy needed a reminder, she said, that progress does not always arrive through conquest or brilliance. Her gaze softened. Sometimes, it arrives through an unsteady step and an open hand. As the assembly began, I felt the weight of countless stars pressing down on the moment. Humanity was no longer invisible, not because we were strong, but because, in a room full of untouchable gods, we dared, accidentally, to reach out. And the universe reached back.